Yeah. What's up, kings and queens? We're back again. And as usual, we're going to the mirror case just to see if we can make some sense out of Brigadier Gininda's logic, right? We're going to concentrate on just a couple of things, especially those questions that Advocate Mumalo was posing on him. Now, before we do that, please like the live, please like the subscribe, like and subscribe, hit that notification bell so that when we drop more content like this, you are covered. Now, this is what happened. Gininda is telling us we have to believe that accused number 4 had something to do with the crime scene and somehow he was implicated. But how was he implicated? He's telling us about the confession and he's telling us about Gwabeni's statement, right? This is just defeating himself. And then let's talk about how he doesn't understand the DNA. That one is a bummer. He's talking about accused number 3's DNA. In fact, somehow appears on that head, right? And then remember, he also said in court before that accused number 3, in fact, accused number 4, in fact, 3, accused number 5, and then in fact, all of the accused, somehow he feels that they are connected to the head. But now, the question is he implying that all of those people in the house, in fact, that he mentioned, touch the head? Is he what is implying to us? Like, do we have to understand him to say to mean that all of the people touch the head, as he said that somebody ran into the house, the accused number 4 ran into the house, and then somehow he touched the head, or the head could be contaminated via his sweat or via whatever. He gave an example that he touched the glass, and then after touching the glass, his DNA will be left there. But now, how does he qualify that all of the people had some DNA in the head? How does he qualify that? And then, are you telling me, based on this understanding of the DNA, his understanding of the DNA, are you telling me that all the cases that he came across that were decided based on DNA, or not even decided, or but some DNA had to be taken and evidence had to be presented, and we had to, the judge had to make a call or a decision based on that DNA? All the cases that he's being involved in that involve DNA, are you telling me that this is the understanding that he's been having all the time? Wow, such a shame. It's unbelievable. You know what we're going to do? We're going to watch those proceedings from, especially on Numalo's part. We're just going to concentrate on that part so that you can really hear that there's really no sense in what he's trying to say. Nobody in the house mentioned that they saw suspect number 1. And then what is his answer to that? He tells us the reason that the people in the house didn't mention suspect number 4, and then didn't even give his appearance, or as they did with suspect, in fact, accused suspect number 1 and suspect number 2, as they did to Mrs. Steenkamp, right? He doesn't. He's telling us that the reason is because those people ran into the different parts of the house. The other one ran out the house. The other one also ran out the house. That's Longwe. That's Mtokozizi. And then Tumelo Madara ran into the bathroom. Okay, we know that. And then Kelukumal also had ran into a bedroom also. And then Zandi Kumalo had ran into the bedroom. Now, there were some people left there behind. Kelly's mother, she didn't run away. She never mentioned that she ran away into a bedroom, and I didn't recall anybody talking about that. Now, why would he now be the witness for those people, be the judge, in fact, be the lawyer for those people, and tell us what they did or they did not see. When they made it clear in the identikit, they did not know. In fact, they couldn't even provide the looks for suspect number 2. It was provided by Makeleni, but now they were able to provide a description for suspect number 1. Like, let's listen. Let's just listen. How would he believe Makeleni, somebody who was out there? And then how does it make sense that Makeleni could, in the night, while people are running away, there was not even 4 meters. There was not even 4 meters between them, him and the suspect, but he was able to identify a gold tooth. Is that not a little bit funny? Anyway, let's just take a listen to Advocate Umalo, right? Just making it bare to the public that Gininda didn't apply any logic when he was choosing who to suspect, when he was choosing who to believe, and then what information to believe from the people in the house. Ramosepele asked him, those people in the house, right? They told you about this and this and this, but now you don't consider this and this and this that they said. Why would you take Makeleni's word when those people were not even able to come up with the drawing for suspect number 2? As a problem. Now let's just watch a little bit of that, and then I'll stop in. I'll come in briefly. Then from there, I'll give you that document that talks about the demotion of this one, the demotion of Advocate Baloyi to the magisterial courts, right? But it was somehow rescinded. But this we'll do later. Let's check this one out.
This understanding that you got from the statement, the confession statement of accused number 2, did you follow it up with the witnesses? Did you obtain any statement? Because I'm raising this, none of the witnesses mentioned this in their statement, even in court, when they were led by my learned colleague for the state. There is no evidence directing to the fact that a third suspect entered the house after the 2 had entered. It's only coming up from you, Brigadier, from your investigation.
Athi-ke ummeli yena ke tshela ukuthi ngesikhathi kade ithimba labashushisi belohola ke ubufakazi ke ngemibuzo la ngaphambi kwenkosi yenkantolo ke athi bonkana abufakazi akukho la bakhuluma khona ke ngiphecelezi nodaba la kamsola wesine ke noma bafaka ke isigilamkhuba sesithathu sangena ngaphakathi kwalela khaya futhi basho ukuthi mhlamba abantu bathi bakhulume futhi nangesikhangiso sakhe ke lapho ke athi futhi engaphakathi kwestatement zabufakazi akukho la bakhulume khona ke ngodaba lesigilamkhuba sesithathu noma ngesigebengu sesithathu ke sangena phakathi kwela muziki athi kepha ke lo nkulumo eqhamuka lapho wena ke babo Brigadier Gininda nanoma kade senza kushesha ucala lakho ushuthe nalokho akaze ukuthola.
No, my lord, I've indicated that's not correct. I've said it comes from the confessions of accused number 2. And my understanding, those confessions forms part of this court's record. It's written there. If perhaps Advocate Ngumalo does not recall, we can go to it. It is contained there. He made a confession first to Lieutenant Colonel Rapado and to Mrs. Cronje, the magistrate. It is contained there where accused 4 is being mentioned as running in when he was running out, my lord.
Now, the confession, remember, he said they found out somehow that in those confessions that they were being misled by accused number 1 and accused number 2. But now, there are parts that he selects and he believes them wholeheartedly. The fact that accused number 2 mentioned that accused number 4 ran into the house when the incident happened. But nobody in the house mentioned that anybody, like the third person came in. They're all talking about 2 people. I think what happened here is they elaborated so much on the plan, Gininda, right? The people in the house told them what happened, and then they said, okay, we're gonna introduce two. And then the people in the house were left with the knowledge that only two suspects will be brought in. Only to find out that in the background, Gininda and Baloi are organizing other suspects. Because how would they be able to use the gun if they didn't pull in accused number 3? They had to pull him in so that they can use that gun from his previous case. And then, mind you, they had already arrested accused number 1 and 2. So the idea probably first was we get accused number 1 and 2, they make confessions, and then done. The story, we have them. But now those guys reneged. And then after they reneged, they said, okay, let's take it a step further. There's somebody that we know he's being arrested with this, and he has this history of being in Nkabi and all that. Let's take him based on the fact that he's already arrested and then he's serving a sentence. But now there's already a gun that he was caught with. That gun is not being crushed yet. Let's take that gun and use it, and then it will be our go-to. He will be down the shooter. That's basically it. Why would they arrest accused number 1 and 2 first? And then when they arrested accused number 1 and 2, what was the main thing that made them to say, yeah, no, we really suspect you guys? I mean, like, I was thinking that this is how it's done. I was thinking when cops suspect you, when they do suspect you, you are given in fact, you are being told about the charge, and then you are given a chance, especially if you're a first time, and then they give you a chance. Probably you get arrested, you sleep in jail like for that day, and then your lawyer comes in, and then a bail is negotiated. Sometimes it even happens that, you know what, we've had incidences where we've had running. I've had incidences where I've had run-ins with the cops. I have a bad one, and I have pleasant incidences, right, where the experience was just bearable, right? And then there was that time when I met up with cops, the experience was not enjoyable, right? But I'm going to talk about those times that I was in some kind of trouble. But now, the cop that came to me, he came like a gentleman, and he told me what's the story, and then why it's with me now. And then, okay, I understood. And then we made, an arrangement so that I present myself there in court. Let's take a listen, guys. And then that's a person. He gave you a chance. He allows you to be a human being. Guys, take a listen. Let's take a listen.
Athi cha akona-ke lokho-ke, kepha akusinde eqhamuka kuyena-ke udaba loluhlumo ku-confession eyenziwa-ke umnumzana uNtanzi-ke lapho-ke namhlanje umsolo wesibili-ke. Athi i-confession yakhe yokuqala wayenza phambi koColonel Raphalu, bese-ke eyesibili wayenza phambi komantshi uCornel. Athi kulakhona-ke wakhuluma khona ngodaba lwakamsola wesine-ke, okuwukuthi ngesikhathi kade kudutshulwa okokuqala phakathi kwalela khaya lena-ke, yena-ke umsola wesibili waphuma egijima, futhi ngesikhathi esekaphuma egijima ngaso-ke kula wahlangana khona-ke nomsola wesine-ke agijima engena ngaphakathi.
Brigadier, I'm well aware of the contents of those confessions, but the question is, did you follow it up? Did you investigate it to form evidence alluding to the commission of the offense, or to support what is being said in that confession? Did you follow it up with the witnesses? Did you obtain statements to confirm what Ntanzi is saying in his confession as evidence alluding to the commission of the offense? Did you do that?
athi yebo kuyakuzwa ke babubhekete Gininda, kepha-ke athi futhi uyazi ukuthi yini ebhaliwe phakathi kwe-convention yonke, kepha-ke umbuzo kuwukuthi mayelana nenkulumo eyenziwa lapho kumnumzana uNtanzi eyenza ngaphansi kohlelo noma ngaphansi kodaba lwe-confession, ingabe ngemuva othula confession leyo wasala emuva-ke ukusesha icala lelo-ke mhlawumbe kuseshana nodaba lolo-ke bese wahamba wahlala phansi wakhulumisana nabofakazi bese wabuza ukuthi ngabe mhlawumbe bekakhona-ke yini umlisa wesithathu wangena phakathi kwalakhayana ngelanga lesikhathi kusenzeka ngaso isigameko, futhi wabuye wathatha ama-statement wabo yini?
No, my lord. So when you collaborate, and I indicated when we dealt with the trial, on this main trial, the collaboration I did. The witnesses, and I'll go back, the witness inside the house indicate that after the first shot was fired, they ran away, my lord. Going back to them to ask what happened after that, my lord, how will they know? It's logic, my lord, that they will not know. Because if you look at the confession of accused 2, he indicates that he was inside the house when the first shot was fired. It's only after the first shot that was fired that he runs out, and simultaneously as he's running out, people were running. It's contained in their statements, different directions.
This just doesn't make sense. If you really listen to what he's saying, this doesn't make sense. Accused number 2 ran out. Some people ran out. Like, people, who's a robber here? Who's in charge here? If the robbers are running away, the people being like harassed or manhandled are running away. He fails to mention that Mam Kumar, that the lady, the old lady, she was there. She didn't, it was never mentioned that she ran anywhere. But how did she not put it to the cops or put it to the first people who were investigating and say, no, you know what? These people are just talking about 2 suspects. Let me tell you something. I know that while they ran into bedrooms and blah, blah, and bathrooms, the third suspect came in, and then he was looking like this and like this. None of that. But Gininda expects us to believe that this happened. And then, to make it worse, he answered, no. If he was asked if you did any investigation, just further, besides the confessions, just to confirm the confessions, just to make sure that the confessions align with reality. He never went to ask anybody about what Ntanzi was saying. In fact, he came with people that would toe his line, will say the story the way he wants the story to be said. I mean, it doesn't make sense that people are robbing the house, and then the third suspect hear gunshots inside the house. He runs into the house. Mind you, Gininda is telling us that Longwe ran away, and then Mtokozi ran away. Those people are the people running outside. So these guys never met up with accused number 4. And then accused number 4 is so brave that bullets are ringing in there, and then he's the one who's going to run in. It doesn't make sense, guys. It doesn't make sense. His logic is, I can't fathom how he doesn't understand his work at this point as a brigadier. The fact that he feels like some 2% of DNA qualifies you to be, even though he's saying excluded himself, but now it qualifies you to be a culprit. Why did they go to get an opinion of a DNA expert if they already have an opinion of how DNA works? Doesn't make, guys, no. This is just mind-boggling that you get arrested with flimsy evidence like this, and the best advocate in the land. Let's see if he was let's talk about this now. the best advocate in the land approves of that rubbish. That rubbish evidence, he's presenting it, he's fighting for it tooth and nail every day in court, even though 90% of the people who are watching this believe that this case, there's a lot of cooking going on. Let me show you the true example of what I'm talking about. Check YouTube. Check on YouTube how many channels are there that are pro what I'm saying, pro what Mzansi Reality is saying, pro what Mzansi Unfiltered is saying, pro what Nomi and Podcast is saying, pro what Zebra and Family is saying, pro what the Daily Fix is saying, pro what all those channels, pro what Kwazi Bia is saying, pro what all these channels that are talking about the Mewa case, and they feel like how many channels are there now that are pro Gininda and pro Baloy? Let's just make that comparison. Then tell me, what do you think? Do you think there's a lot of people who believe that the state is right more than a lot of people who believe that the state is wrong? Are you telling me it's something like that? This is what's happening. Let's just read this. This is when this guy was apparently demoted, right? Another Zuma prosecutor demoted. Now, another Gauteng High Court prosecutor has this is around, let me just check the date. This is around 15 years ago. They just published 15 years ago. They didn't put the date. It's fine. We are not really looking for the date. We just want the contents. Another Gauteng High Court prosecutor tasked with the prosecution of President Jacob Zuma on charges of corruption has been demoted. Advocate George Baloy became the second senior prosecutor on a Zuma case to receive notice of his removal, right, as a deputy director of public prosecution. Now, on Tuesday, the Star reported that Advocate Mutuhwa Nengovela, also a member of the team that prosecuted Zuma in the Johannesburg High Court, had been given the responsibility of a clerk at the family court. Wow. So already another one had already been moved. And what was he given? Responsibility of a clerk at the family. Wow. They were serious about this. Now, remember, this was a time of Advocate Simelane when he was talking about his restructuring, Menzi Simelane, when he was talking about restructuring. Now, other two colleagues at the Pretoria High Court, Advocate Rita Menkis, Senior Counsel, and Advocate Connie Erasmus have also been demoted and told to take up their positions as prosecutors at magistrate courts around Pretoria on April 5. It was serious, right? Now, Menkis, this is orders coming from the Director of Public Prosecutions, Mr. Menzies Melan, right? Now, Menkis is going to the Mamelodi Magistrate Court, where she will work on sexual offences cases, domestic violence, maintenance issues. Baloy is to prosecute similar cases in the Pretoria Magistrate High Court. Wow. Now, you understand what was going on here. Now, let's talk about what happened after. What happened after here is the decision now being rescinded, right? I don't know what happened. I think Zuma came in and was like, no, you're not touching my guy. Just make sure that this guy is not going there. Now, let's read this. Let me just make it a little bigger. The NPA has formally withdrawn redeployment notices sent to Prosecutor Rita Menkis and George Baloy after the International Association of Prosecutors complained to President Jacob Zuma about the proposed reassignment of senior prosecutors. A Mail and Guardian report says the two have been reprieved after being informed by National Public Prosecutions Menzies Melan that they will be moved to magistrate courts, right? Legal Sources told the paper Baloyi might have been targeted because he worked on the Zuma corruption case until the charges were dropped last year. Menkes, an expert on children's and women's rights, is vice president of the association. The IAP, that's Association of Prosecutors, right? Wrote to Zuma, Justice Minister Jeff Radebe, and Simelane to express its alarm at the proposed reassignment of senior prosecutors. Although the restructuring has now been put on hold following interventions by Zuma and Radebe, okay, big people came through, the political wing came through, and political angels came through. I understand now. The prosecutors have received no written notification that redeployments have been dropped. Mani, the clerk of the Public Servants Associations, said the union has entered into talks with the NPA over Menkes and Baloyi last week. We agreed that the reassignment instruction regarding Menkes and Baloyi is withdrawn until we go back to the bargaining chamber to discuss the NPA's restructuring plan, said the clerk. That's all we're going to read on that. I just wanted to show you that somebody was pissed off with Baloyi at some point, and then somebody came through. Somebody on a serious note now. We're going to jump to this guy, O'Sullivan. O'Sullivan is talking about he approached, now this is on the case of these guys, these 7 from the crime intelligence who were accused of corruption and blah blah and all that. He said he told the commissioner, right, the national commissioner, that Fanima Semol, I think that's him, that he needs to take action, suspend these guys who are out on bail, I think by now. So he told them you need to suspend these people, or else he's going to take action against the national commissioner, because the national commissioner also was embroiled in some scandal some time ago. Let's take a listen. So everybody seems to be implicated somehow, like this some scandal under almost everybody who we are, the public, thinking, yeah, we got public officers who represent us nicely, but no, doesn't look like it. Let's take a listen. This will be the last clip, and then I'll read the comments, and then we'll close the show.
Of course, it is our top story, so we're going to continue with it then. A police crime intelligence boss, Major General Dumisani Khumalo, and co-accused have been granted 10,000 Rand bail in their fraud and corruption case. However, the CFO, Major General Philani Lushaba, has been remanded in custody as he has a pending case of corruption. Paul Sullivan, forensic consultant and criminologist, joining us live now. Paul, thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it. Let's very quickly get your reaction to that bail hearing overall, and I suppose the sentiment around this matter, and crime intelligence again in the news.
Well, I think these people knew that the net would be closing in on them. I personally spoke to accused number 7, which is Brigadier Makweli. I spoke to her in January, and I asked her to explain how she got appointed at the age of 29 years, how she got parachuted into the Crime Intelligence Division at the rank of Brigadier, when there are people there that have been serving for 30 or 35 years who haven't even achieved the rank of Brigadier, and they must now report to this young lady who knows nothing about policing. And she told me I should speak to head office. So instead of speaking to head office, I spoke to IDAC, the minister, and the office for, the Office of the Inspector General for Intelligence. And I had several meetings with them in my offices, and we packaged everything up and we gave it to them. But the reality is that we have now 5 generals and 2 brigadiers that have been arrested within a 24-hour period and arraigned in court. Of the 7, 6 have been granted bail, in very small amounts, by the way. I can't believe that somebody can commit such serious crimes and only be granted bail of 10,000 rand. Of course, they would probably have to hand in their passports and report their movements to the investigating officer.
Yeah.
Now, the reality is they will have to stand trial, and my understanding is that the matter is trial ready. So we should see some action here, and hopefully it will re-establish the credibility of IDAC, or the the Investigative Directorate Against Corruption, and it should also establish the ability of the police to have new leadership in crime intelligence, because without a doubt, the current head of crime intelligence has been running crime intelligence in much the same way that Richard Ndluli did.
Yeah.
And he treated it as a family business. And that's exactly what Khumalo's been doing. He's been running it as a family business, to the extent where there was jobs for anybody that wanted them, and they weren't given jobs as constables and sergeants. They were parachuted in at high rank. And then you see people, for example, we've got all the evidence, going on a junket to Japan, which is nothing more than a holiday, supposed to be a drug trafficking conference. And the person that went, a major general who knows absolutely nothing about combating drug trafficking. So you end up with these square pegs in round holes.
Yeah. So Paul,
and that's what crime intelligence is. So instead of actually doing crime intelligence and finding out what criminals are up to, they've been running their own businesses.
So Paul,
And
what is
it's
it?
shocking,
What is it?
truly shocking.
What is it about?
Yeah. Now, I hope you, Mr. Sullivan, is watching the Miwa case, and then you are putting something together. As you said, you put something together, some few papers, and then these people were arrested. You went, you met the minister, what, and then, yeah. So I hope you're putting something together for Gininda and Baloyi. I hope. Because, you can't be just looking one side. You have to look at any crime that public officers are committing. So you can't be overlooking what Gininda said. This is on the news every day. And then if you are the mind of the investigator that we think you are, you should already sense that this case by Gininda is just frivolous. There's really no evidence. You should know. So I hope you are preparing those papers for that guy and Baloyi, because there's big problems in the Miwa case. I understand that these people, they were conducting nepotism, corruption, blah, blah. But now let's talk about some other serious crimes where people's lives are being destroyed. The accused lives. I understand that, judging from the way they talk about the accused, right? Judge keeps on saying, we can't say the accused. But he calls them like that every day. He doesn't say Mr. Mama, accused number. It was always accused, even Gininda, right? Even Baloyi. He doesn't use that term that they would like us to believe that they're supposed to use. So anyway, guys, let's just listen to the last part of Sullivan, and then we're out. We're gonna read the comments and then we're out.
This department, though, that has this notion. I mean, just what was it in 2022? When Khumalo was appointed, Fani Masemola, the then National Police Commissioner, had actually said that there are people who believe that there's a general sense of corruption within crime intelligence, and he refuted that claim. And one considers that, well, if you see it now, it still feels that way. You can't refute the claim by the looks of it. What's wrong with this department?
Unfortunately, General Masemola is not part of the solution. He's part of the problem. And what he now needs to do, these 7 individuals, okay, well, one of them still sitting behind bars, but the other 6 need to be immediately suspended. For them to go back to work, and I'm not going to mention names, but I know for a fact that 2 of them go with blue light convoys everywhere they go, with bodyguards and cars with blue lights, whether they're in a hurry or not. Everywhere they go, they run blue light convoys, and that is completely unacceptable. And that's at taxpayer expense, by the way. And then you've got all this going on. So I've approached Fani Masemola yesterday, and I've given him until Monday to announce publicly that he will be suspending all of them. And if he doesn't, Forensics for Justice will be taking him to High Court with an urgent application. It's time the police were cleaned up. At the end of the day, these people didn't even get themselves properly organized in order to bring a bail application.
Yeah.
So I think the magistrate mentioned that they were copying and pasting from one to another, and the result was there was insufficient information in front of the magistrate in order for the magistrate to be able to grant bail, which meant that they had to stand the matter down so that they could finish the work they should have done already. And I have no doubt that the lawyers involved are being paid with the proceeds of crime, because that's what these individuals have been living on.
Yeah. Now, talk about the blue lights. I think we're done with this with O'Sullivan. Talk about the blue lights. Am I wrong to say that Gininda is probably also using blue lights when he's giving us all these problems in court? Guy, Mr. O'Sullivan, I hope you are putting together something for Gininda and Baloyi, because I mean, this case is nothing, bro. This case is nothing, and how much money was wasted on this case, while these guys are dragging this case on purpose. Guys, let me not take too much of time. I'm going to read the comments, and then I'm going to bounce. Now, let's start with our favorite child of the soil, Queen Sekhamogotla. She says, "Greetings, King. Today I captured you on time." Of course, my lady. Of course, we're here. And then thank you for popping in. And then Solomon in Dubai, and it says, Gininda is the culprit here. He must have taken Jojo from those who needs protecting from the criminal conduct. No wonder Chigo Tuala was so disrespectful to the lawyers, knowing he's protected. Yeah, allegedly. I don't know about Joshua. I've never seen anything to support that, but I could say that what I can say is that they're just cooking evidence. That evidence is not proper and doesn't fit. That evidence doesn't fit. You have to remember that even starting from the bottom, the first two people who arrived on the scene, that's Muthetwa, and then that's Captain, that guy who was who couldn't stand up for a long time. Those guys. Muthetwa came in, and then he said the scene was taken from him by this guy, Tabiso, I think, yeah, detective, yeah. What's his name? The first one who couldn't sit up, who couldn't like stand for a while, who said he had a problem. Now, he arrived early, and then he left at 10. That guy arrived at 1, but somehow they were conducting a crime scene. Just from there, starting from the first day, there were problems. There was a police tape, but you could see a police tape on the gate, but you could see people inside the police tape, people from the street, right? During the day, around like from 7 to 9, there was a police tape now being extended, put around a wider perimeter, but still there were people doing their ins and out. So from the very bottom, from the start, this case was like it was really messed up. This crime scene was trampled upon. Some things were moved out of the crime scene. Some things were moved in, and then some things were not properly documented. That's my belief. Now let's read the last comment, and then we out. To be corrected, accused 5 refused with fingerprints or to be taken samples for DNA. It is why Gininda is saying he was the driver of the and then this is the getaway vehicle that nobody saw. whether before the incident or even after incident. Nobody ever mentioning seeing that car that he's talking about. Anyway, guys, let me not take too much of a time. Thanks for anybody who popped in. Thanks for all those who liked it, all those who watched. Please like the live again if you didn't. Comment in the comment section if you wasn't able to get a chance to comment in the live section. And then please subscribe if you're not subscribed. Hit that notification bell so that when we drop more content like this, you're in the loop. Now, peace. We are out, guys. I'm not going to take too much of your time. I put in my wedding, and then I hope you give me your reaction in the comments below so that we can feel and understand what you're talking about, then where your mind is concerning this case. One last comment, and then we out. I think this one is fine. And then, yeah. Yeah, no, I wanted to do this one. Yeah. Guys, enjoy your weekend. I think I'm gonna go live again tomorrow. So peace. We are out.